Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Mortuary Blues, a Hong Kong horror comedy from 1990. This was directed by Jeffrey Lau and stars Corey Yuen, director, actor extraordinaire. Now, on a remote island off of Hong Kong, its rich and happy inhabitants are celebrating an annual ritual by staging an operatic show. The island is not very productive, but its people are rich. No wonder the police chief becomes suspicious. He thinks he's sitting on top of a narcotics ring. Now, his two men are ordered to watch closely the movement of the opera troupe. Little does the chief know that actually, the islanders are living off of loot their ancestors made by raiding a government gold galleon some centuries ago. They buried much of the treasure and a dormant vampire under the pagoda. One night, the rays of the moon bring a coven of female zombies back to life. Can the cops and the opera troupe stop the chaos? So the first thing you need to understand about Mortuary Blues is that this is a very madcap, wacky movie. All right, there's a lot of humor. It's primarily a comedy, with horror, of course, thrown in. And it's consistently peppered throughout the entire film. The comedy is high energy. You get some slapstick in this. You get some goofiness mixed in for good measure. The good news is that it actually works, in my opinion. The actors do a good job. They're energetic without becoming too annoying, which is very important for a film like this. Sheila Chan, in particular, very charismatic and fun to watch. It makes me want to check out more of her stuff if I can find it. And thankfully, this movie does have a genuine sense of charm to it as well. So I think the humor is good in this. The opening half hour is maybe a little bit weak. It's mostly spent introducing our performance troupe protagonists, as well as the cops. From a Westerner's perspective, though, it is interesting to see the opera performance and setup and things like that. But I do think this opening act in the movie is probably the weakest section of the film. It does move at a fairly brisk pace. It keeps moving here, and the jokes are flying left and right. Some of the gags are pretty giggle-worthy, I do think. But the main conflict doesn't really ramp up until maybe the 30-minute mark, I would say. After that, Mortuary Blues increases in entertainment value throughout the rest of the film. Now, the most impressive moments in this movie are the set pieces, which are lengthy and quite memorable, actually. So, for example, there's a pretty long chase scene involving these female ghouls or zombies, whatever you want to call them. They run around in circles, attacking our protagonists, who are kind of trapped in a restrictive area underground. It's pretty funny, because the tactics used to temporarily freeze these enemies are very amusing. And there's multiple ways you can freeze these ghouls temporarily to kind of protect yourself. After that, there's a scene involving rats, where two of the protagonists are trying to stay still, while one of the female ghouls is in the area looking for him. There is also an Indiana Jones-style deadly trap scene involving a moving stone wall and like metal spikes and stuff. That was pretty good. So all of these scenes give this movie some momentum. You know, the movie keeps increasing its momentum, and it keeps the pace up pretty fast. There's not a lot of dead weight in this film. But then we get the two best scenes of the entire film, which are saved for the final half hour. The first one is an underwater chase, basically, sequence. Very impressive and quite long. There's a monster in chains who just kind of like sleeps underwater, and he just kind of sleeps there right near this underwater tunnel. And I'm not going to tell you what happens, but that's probably my favorite like monster of the entire film. That's a good scene, and pretty impressive the way that they were able to film that. And then we get the big finale. All right, now the big fight at the end takes place against the main baddie guy, and it takes place like on the opera stage itself with all of the characters in costume, and it has a lot of different attack strategies. It's kind of like multi-staged, and it's pretty creative stuff. You don't see this type of thing in most movies, period. So it's a very satisfying and creative way to end the film. And, you know, but I don't want to make this sound like it's a martial arts movie, because it really isn't. You know, you get some moves here and there, but the characters use, like, spiritual items or simply try to, like, escape situations. So it's, again, a little bit different and very kind of refreshing to watch films like this in 2022, you know what I mean? One criticism that I might have is that the makeup effects, not very good. Makeup effects are really cheap, really cheap. They definitely should have upped their game in that respect. I know it's a low-budget film, but that could have been improved upon. Atmosphere is a little bit inconsistent, but there are some nicely lit scenes here and there. Some of the sets also look like ancient stone tombs, which is kind of neat and reminiscent of Indiana Jones at a lower budget. So I think overall, Mortuary Blues it's not a movie that like gets especially high ratings online for some reason from the people who have seen it, but that's probably due to the silly humor. You know, not everybody likes this kind of wacky humor comedy stuff mixed in with horror. So, but I think it's underappreciated. I actually quite enjoy this one. A very fun movie to watch. Again, it's one that's just, you sit back, you relax, and you just watch and enjoy the show. And I just watched it for the first time recently. It recently got a Region A Hong Kong Blu-ray release, I think just last year with English subtitles. So I would check it out if I were you, if it sounds interesting to you. If you like high energy kind of horror comedies, you might actually be able to find it on YouTube or some other streaming sites as well. So give it a shot. And as always, I will see you next time.